Hello, world. Happy International Day of Friendship. Ready to improve your communication skills? Warmest welcome to World Humanitarian Drive's 26th episode of Inspiring Millions Show. This is the show where we celebrate brilliant minds from around the world who share with us their story, one story at a time. Today, our featured guest is Adam Fotheringham, facilitator of Be Seen, Be Heard, and introduction to archetypes and how to work with them. We'll get to know his inspiring story in a short while. Thank you for joining us live or on replay. I'm Vivandrada O'Flynn, your host and Global Media Relations of World Humanitarian Drive. Now, let me tell you about World Humanitarian Drive. World Humanitarian Drive, also known as WHD, is an international NGO founded in Croydon, UK by British Indian global peace activist, entrepreneur, writer, Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed. The primary vision of WHD is to promote peace, education, and trade harmony initiatives globally among everyone across the world, regardless of race, gender, religion, or nationality, living as one family. WHD is striving for humanity. This Inspiring Millions show is your show. As always, we encourage you to engage and interact with us. Please help us spread inspiration to the world by sharing this link. Put your questions that you would like to ask our guest, Adam Fotheringham. Greetings, shout-outs, or comments that you have for us in the chat box. We will read them later on in the show. Let us also know where you are watching this. Wherever you are in the world, let us keep you company and brighten your day as we share peace, love, and goodwill. Due to the global pandemic, live entertainment was put to a screeching halt, with people staying at home to protect themselves against the virus. Home entertainment, virtual events, and live streaming services flourished and thrived. Now that restrictions have eased in different parts of the world, live entertainment is making a comeback. Here in today's episode of Inspiring Millions Show, we have with us Adam Fotheringham, who has combined in-person and online events such as workshops and coaching even before COVID-19 happened. Adam considers it his passion in being a catalyst for others, opening people up to the realization of their true potential to be a bright light in the world. Let us all welcome from the United Kingdom, an actor, director, personal and leadership coach, facilitator of Be Seen and Be Heard, who values stories and communication skills, Mr. Adam Fotheringham.
Hi, Viva. It's a great pleasure to be here. And and it's a great pleasure to be talking to all of your listeners, wherever they are around the world. So yeah, welcome from the UK, which is a bit grey and cloudy and a bit rainy at the moment. Yeah.
So Adam, could you please introduce yourself to the world and share a brief story about you?
Yeah, sure. So as Viva's already, I mean, I don't really need to add anything to what Viva said. She listed pretty much everything. I started life as an actor, and then I became a theatre director, a teacher of drama, and then more recently I moved into coaching, and I'm a leadership coach and a facilitator. So I do several different things, but I think the inspiring story, or the story that I'd like to share, is a story that I share quite often. And it goes back to my school days when I was about 14 or 15. And I had the opportunity to be in the school play. And that year it was a play that was being directed by an ex-actor from the Royal Shakespeare Company. So it's really exciting, and I'd only just discovered theatre, and so I was really excited. And I remember rehearsing this play and getting more and more excited as we got closer to the opening night. And then on the opening night, standing in the wings, looking out onto the stage, feeling incredibly alive and very excited, and everything on stage looked really magical and sort of alluring and inviting. And I could hear the audience coming in and they sounded really excited. And I remember just stepping out onto the stage, and it was like being carried by a wave. So it felt really effortless. And I felt during the whole of the performance that it was like I was being carried. It wasn't hard work. I wasn't having to really think about what I was doing. It felt like I was telepathically connected to all the other actors and really in connection with the audience. So that was my experience on the first night. But then on the second night, same play. Yeah, no, not much difference. I obviously was a bit tired, you know, having been at school all that day. But things felt very different to me. I didn't feel the same in my body. The stage looked a bit gray and uninviting. I could hear the audience coming in and they sounded bad-tempered and judgmental. And when I stepped out onto the stage that night, it felt like my body wasn't working. I couldn't remember my lines. Everything was stilted and stiff and not flowing. And it felt really difficult. And at the end of that experience, I came away with this question, you know, how could somebody have two such different experiences doing the same thing? And really that question has really informed most of my work. You know, how is it that we can experience things in such different ways? And is there anything we can do to try to have more of the first experience and less of the second? And can we actually work on that to make that more of a possibility? So that's just a story that kind of tells you a little bit about my interest and some of the things that have really grabbed me, in my career.
So Adam, you mentioned that your passion for theater started in being part of a school play. And then you talked about the difference of the first day and the second day. So what if that second day happens? So what are we supposed to do to, well, get back on track again with just remembering lines? What are the steps? What are the exercises that we should do?
That's a great question, Viva. And of course, you know, if I'd known then, it would have been really helpful. But what I've done is I've really kind of sat with that question and really explored it through my career. And so now I've got some answers. So the first thing that we need to do is to be aware of what's going on. So really to be aware of the situation we're in and how we're feeling in it. If we're not aware, then things they just feel like it's the world doing it to us. You know, it's just a bad day and I'm in this situation and there's nothing I can do about it. But if we can be aware that this is what I'm experiencing and I want to experience something else, that's a great starting point. And then the other thing I think that's really helpful is to think about, well, what is my state, my physical and emotional and mental state at the moment? And often we find when things are not going well, we are actually in a kind of contracted state. Everything has seized up, tightened up. Our muscles are tense and contracted. Our feelings feels like we're being sort of oppressed or pushed down. And our mind isn't free. It's not flowing. Thoughts are not flowing. So if we can begin to change that state of contraction and try to open it up, starting with the body, that's the best place to start because it's kind of, we live in our body. We can begin to make things feel different for ourselves. And then as we do that, suddenly new possibilities open up and we start to feel differently about what's going on. So really briefly, in a nutshell, I'd say awareness, and then really working on the core state that we're in. Those are the two things that we can do something about.
So awareness and core state, which includes the body as well. So
Yeah.
Adam, you're an actor, director, and also a coach. So how did you get started on your career? Could you talk us through it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the experience that I told you about, first of all, of being in that play, that really prompted me to want to become an actor. I was just completely stage struck. And I went to university and I did a degree in drama, well, film and drama, actually, although I realized within about a week I wasn't that interested in film. I just wanted to really focus on the drama stuff. So that's what I did. I had a lot of really fantastic experiences doing my 3 years of my degree, went to the Edinburgh Festival, did a huge amount of, was in a huge range and number of productions. And when I came out of university, I still wanted to be an actor. And so I was applying for jobs, but there weren't very many at the time. But what there was a lot of work going on in what's called theatre in education. So theatre that has a kind of educational focus. And I thought, if I train as a teacher, then I will be qualified in both worlds, you know, theatre work and teaching and education, and I'll have a better chance of getting a job. So I then trained as a drama teacher. And that really opened up my education career, because a lot of my work has been in education, working with young people, directing young people. I've had a few years out coming back to work in professional theatre, but I've always gone back to teaching because actually that is my first love. So, and I've taught all the way through from secondary school pupils, so that's 11 to 18-year-olds, to secondary, what do you call it? Further education, which is 16 to 19-year-olds, and then higher education, which is kind of 18 to 25-year-olds. So yeah, so I've really combined teaching with bits of acting, a lot of directing, most of it with young people. And then more recently, I've moved into leadership coaching. And so I do a lot of corporate work now as well, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's like a wide range of different, yeah, things that you're doing. So how has the pandemic affected your lifestyle, and what are the activities that you have been doing during the pandemic?
Yes, of course. I mean, you know, this pandemic has affected all of us in many ways. And I feel really, really lucky in that the impact on me has been relatively superficial and minor. You know, yes, there was a time when we were all in lockdown, and so there were certain things I couldn't do. But I don't live on my own, so I feel very fortunate about that. My work, rather, a lot of people had the experience of their work coming to an end, you know, and they weren't able to work. It was the opposite for me. My work took off, you know, as a coach and as a facilitator, but it just all went online. So I've been doing a lot more of this, you know, in front of the computer, which has on one level been fantastic because it's kept me engaged, kept me busy. And I much prefer being with people in the room. So yeah, but I'm getting used to this. I have to say I'm getting used to this now. So work-wise, it's been good for me in a way. You know, I've had a lot more work. And the only other thing I would say it's really done for me is it's allowed me to spend more time outdoors in nature, and feel much more connected to the natural world, the extraordinary beauty and abundance of the natural world than I did before the pandemic. So I think for me, those are the things that have really, characterized my experience.
Yeah, so you managed to just adjust really well to online events as well, from in person to online events when with coaching. So what role can entertainment play in a time of crisis such as COVID-19?
Oh gosh, entertainment is really important, and I'm using that term very broadly because sometimes entertainment can be used quite disparagingly, and it's about sort of light-hearted distraction. But I think entertainment also includes things like music, serious film, theatre, other art forms. So I'm going to use it very broadly. And, for me, we can look after our, there's been such a focus on looking after our bodies during this pandemic. So getting vaccines, staying safe, wearing masks, being isolated from each other. There's been a lot of emphasis on keeping our bodies safe. But we are more than just our bodies. And for me, entertainment and the arts is what feeds our souls. And if we don't look after our souls, we become very unhappy. We can become seriously ill, actually, mentally ill, or spiritually ill. So I think the arts and entertainment has a huge role to play in giving us the sustenance that we need on that level, whereas medicine can give us the sustenance that we need on a kind of physical level.
I really like what you said about entertainment is what feeds our soul. So, Adam, what do you consider your unique skills, your unique selling point that has helped you become successful in your career?
That's hard to answer in a way, Viva. I mean, I would say, I'm a late starter, in many ways. I'm 60, almost 61. And it's only now that I really feel like I'm doing the work that I was really born to do, the work that, I'm kind of, that I'm really satisfied and fulfilled by, that really excites me. I love the theatre and I love teaching, but those things weren't quite enough. And I think the uniqueness, maybe, there is something perhaps unique about the way that I'm using theatre, my theatre experience, my experience as an educator, my experience of personal development work from my own journey, and then the coaching expertise that I'm developing. So bringing those all together in a way that is maybe unusual. Yeah.
So, Adam, as an actor, what has been your most unforgettable, your most favorite role?
See, it's interesting. I don't really think of myself as an actor, although I've done quite a lot. That's not my sort of primary interest. But so what's been my favorite role? Well, I think actually in 2012 I was I joined a professional theatre company, and the very first production that we did was a family show of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis's famous books. And we did a dramatization of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe with songs and music. And I played Mr. Beaver, and I had a great time. I really, I loved the show. I loved the fact that it was for families. I loved the fact that it was very uplifting. And I loved the fact that for that period, which was about 6 months, I really felt like I'd found a family, with all the fellow actors and the company. It was a magical time. So that was my best experience as an actor.
So from an actor, let's shift to being a theater director. What shows do you direct and what has been your favorite, Adam?
Well, as I said, you know, Viva, most of the work, but not all of it, has been with young people. So a lot of youth theatre work or working with young companies. And I mean, I've had a few memorable experiences. I took a group of students, a group of drama students, to Iceland, and we performed up a mountain just outside Reykjavik. I've driven across Poland with a group of students from the UK, and we performed in Krakow. Um, um, so lots of different shows. I think one of the most memorable productions I've directed was when I was a drama teacher in a further education college, and we did a production of The Comedy of Errors by Shakespeare. And I had this kind of idea about I'd like to do it on a beach. And so we imported 4 tons of sand and put it into the theatre, the college's theatre space, and created this fantastic beach-like environment. And I loved that show, actually. It was full of colour and life and joy, and very memorable. Unfortunately, when we took the sand up at the end of the run, it had warped the beautiful sprung floor in the theatre, and the theatre was never quite the same again. So, so yeah, that was one of my best experiences.
Yeah, there are just so many experiences from being an actor and director. So you're also a personal and leadership coach. So what do your responsibilities entail and what are the qualities of a good coach?
Okay. So I'm going to answer the first bit first. What are the qualities of a good coach? And I think there's one overriding quality that really feels to me more important than any others, and it's the ability to listen, to really listen deeply to somebody, not just to hear the words that they're saying, but to really get into their shoes and experience the world from their perspective. And I think if you can do that, and it's actually harder than it sounds, you're able then to provide just doing that provides an amazing service to people, because often we don't feel we're really heard, we don't feel we're really listened to, and so it's an amazing experience to feel absolutely listened to and heard. So I'll just say that for about the coaching. And then I work privately, but I also work for a leadership development organization in London called Olivier Mythodrama. And we combine theatre with archetypes, with archetypal psychology, with a lot of cutting edge learning strategies. And we've created this very powerful development tool. We work a lot with Shakespeare's plays as a kind of template for different leadership lessons. And we work with very big organizations around the world. Yeah, and it's exciting, creative, challenging. And I think nowadays, you know, the world is in such a pickle, you know, on so many levels, that there is such a strong demand for good leadership, inspired, forward-thinking, creative, resilient thinking that can really get us out of some of the problems that we're in.
And it's really important, as you've mentioned, to really listen deeply, because sometimes we're just preoccupied with our thoughts that we don't really listen well to others. So, Adam, what is the importance of good communication skills, and what are the lessons that you've learned in communicating more effectively?
Communication is how we connect with each other in the world. So I would say that most of our problems arise out of poor communication. So good communication is, what we need to remedy that, really. And it starts with listening. We've already talked about listening. We often think of communicating as being about doing something towards somebody else, but actually half of it is about listening. And I think the other one is to be really authentic. So speak from your perspective, speak from what you know, rather than trying to pretend that you know more than you do, or that you understand something that you don't. And I think one of the biggest lessons for me is about the power of two things: authenticity, really being yourself, and vulnerability, being willing and able to own up to the fact that you are fallible, human, open to making mistakes, open to learning from mistakes. And what I see with a lot of people in positions of power is there is very little vulnerability. They can't afford, it's like they don't feel able to let themselves be vulnerable because they'll be taken down. And it's a real problem in the world. And I think when we can all learn to be humble, to be real, to be in service to something bigger than ourselves, those are the conditions in which good communication can really start to happen.
Those are really great lessons about communication. So you've mentioned like listening, being authentic, power of authenticity, and vulnerability. So today is International Day of Friendship. What is the importance of friendship in our lives?
Without friendship, we die. Really, it's that simple. I think if we're not connected to other people beyond our immediate family, I mean, obviously, family is a given to a certain extent, but if we're not connected to other people, we don't have people that we can go to, call on, laugh with, share things with. Our lives become very impoverished. Our experience becomes very impoverished. And we can become very isolated, lonely. And also then we don't know how to engage with other people and connect with other people. I think friendship is so, so important. I'm just from my own experience, during the pandemic, it was my friends that really kept me sane. It was contact with my friends, whether it was on the phone, on Zoom, socially distanced, that really kept me and many of them from mental health issues, actually. Yeah. So friendship is really important. And the other thing I think that friendship does is it bridges the gap between people. So there's a lot of gaps between people in the world at the moment, often created by assumptions. So just because you have a different color of skin, just because you wear different types of clothes, just because you eat different types of food, I think that you are a stranger, an enemy, because I can't connect with you. And so when we find ways of getting through those superficial differences, we discover that we're all the same. We all have the same hopes, dreams, aspirations, needs, fears. And it's friendship and connection that really builds the bridges between people. So that was a simple question you asked, but it's actually quite a profound subject.
So it's really friendship and connection that we realize how we're the same, how we're all the same, if we've got differences. So there's a question here by Professor Dr. GP Doraisamy. He's from Malaysia. He's saying, a very inspiring presentation by Adam. You seem to be wearing many types of hats for different occasions in your career. What and how would you explain the role as played by a manager, a leader in an industry or the corporate world as compared to a leader in a society like NGO, social organization, or even in politics? How would these types of leadership be able to contribute maximum benefits to their target groups?
Wow, I mean that's quite a question. And first of all, I would make a distinction between a subtle distinction between managing and leading. They're not quite the same, although often there's a lot of overlap between the two things. So managing is about using the resources at hand and the parameters of the task set to make decisions that are as effective as possible in given what you've got, who you've got to implement things, and what your goal is. I don't know if that may not be entirely clear, but I hope it is. Leading is really about the capacity to take people on a journey. So this is different to managing is about working with what is. Leadership is about moving into what could be and bringing people with you, having a vision, and being able to move from what is to what could be. So that, in a nutshell, I think that's what I would say about that. And I hope I don't know if that answers the question, but I hope it does.
You've explained the difference between managing and leading. So, Adam, you're a facilitator of Be Seen, Be Heard. Could you tell us more about it, and why do people take up the course, and what do they get out of it?
Yeah, so Be Seen, Be Heard is a program that I designed in 2016, and it was very much, it came from a request. A couple of women came to me who were both sort of early middle years, in their 40s. They were coming to the end of bringing up a family, and they were going back into professional work. Both of them had had careers before they took time out to have a family. And both of them felt that they'd lost confidence, particularly in the time, that confidence in being able to operate in the world of work during the time that they've been bringing up children. And they wanted some support with really getting them back into a place where they felt competent, resourced, and able to meet all of the different challenges of going back into work. And so that was the beginning of Be Seen, Be Heard. So it started out as a kind of public speaking course, really. How do you represent yourself? How do you present yourself? How do you put yourself across to others? How can you be relaxed and authentic? And at the end of the course, I think we had 7 people on the first course. They all said, this isn't just about public speaking, it's about life. And so the course kind of grew from there, and it's changed a lot over the time. But now I would describe it as it's an empowerment course. It's really a course designed to give people the experience that they have value, they're worth something, that they have a gift to give to the world, and that the world needs their gift. And so, and then the skills to give it. Yeah, the skills and the confidence to give it. So that's what I think Be Seen, Be Heard is. And I love this program. I love delivering it. I love the impact it has on people. I love seeing people become bigger. And that's the experience. You know, people's light goes on and they kind of wake up and they become bigger and start doing things they couldn't dream of doing before they made this discovery. And it's not my teaching, it's their discovering it for themselves. Yeah.
So Adam, I just got this from the brief. So Be Seen, Be Heard is a program that explores the deeply personal question, something like, how can I live comfortably as myself in the world? And because I'm also a participant of GEM's project that goes the extra mile, and my navigator developer, Donna Marshall, she encouraged me to take up Be Seen, Be Heard. And I'm so glad I did. So Adam, could you also give us some top tips for public speaking?
I don't really like doing tips because I mean, I will give you a couple, but just to say there's a problem. I have a bit of an issue with tips. Tips gives you the impression that you can just pick up a couple of, you know, practical strategies and that will then get you by. And my feeling with public speaking is that, yes, there are certain things that you can do to get you by, to make you more fluid, appear more polished, appear more confident. But what I'm interested in is actually the experience of feeling more confident, feeling more relaxed, feeling more empowered. So that it's not just an illusion and you're not just kind of borrowing some tips to get there. But what I would say is there are three things with public speaking that are really important. One, you have to be in your body when you're doing it. You really have to be in your body. Your body is your home. And when we do stressful, self-conscious making things, like public speaking, it has the effect of wanting to drive us out of our body and into a kind of chaotic mental space. So we have to be very much, you know, work hard to stay at home in our bodies so we're anchored. The second thing is public speaking often gives us the feeling that we are being stared at in a fierce, threatening way by the audience, that they can see through us, that they can see past all of our apparent competence, confidence, and that they can see that underneath we're a shivering wreck. So we need to get beyond that by understanding that that's not what the audience experiences. Okay, and all we're doing is projecting our fears onto their blank faces. Because when you're listening in an audience, you just sit and listen. You're not doing anything. So we misinterpret that blankness as hostility, disinterest, boredom, judgment. So really connecting with our audience, seeing them as human beings, opening our hearts to them really makes a difference. So being in the body, opening our hearts. And then the other one is to expand ourselves. The bigger we become, the more people notice us, the more people want to spend time with us, and the more people want to listen to us. So if we're very small and contracted, then nobody's going to listen. If we're expansive and open, people are going to feel safe and welcomed, and they will listen to us. So those are the three things.
So be in your body, and then fierce gaze. It's about connecting to your audience and also expanding ourselves. So that's just a taste of Adam's classes. There's a lot more when you sign up for classes with Adam. Anyway, so you're also a facilitator of Introduction to Archetypes. Could you tell us more about it? You're going to start it in September?
Well, it's something that's already started. I mean, I am a member of the Guild of Archetypal Coaches, or Archetypes at Work Coaches, which is the name of the methodology. It's a methodology that's been created by Richard Olivier and Lawrence Hillman. And Richard and Lawrence are both extraordinary people. Richard set up Olivier Mythodrama, who I work for, and he's a very, very inspiring facilitator, teacher, organizational development leader. And Lawrence is a highly respected coach and astrologer. And they've devised a method using 10 archetypes, a kind of personal professional development method that I've now been working, and I'm part of the core team that's been developing this and delivering it around the world. And we've been doing that since the beginning of the pandemic, so mostly online. So in the autumn, I'm part of a team that's delivering an immersion on archetypes at Hawkwood College, and people can sign up for that through Hawkwood College, which is based in Stroud in Gloucestershire in the UK. And that's going to be online. And Richard will be taking part in that, and I will be delivering some of the archetypes. But the other thing that I'm doing on my own is I'm doing an introduction to archetypes and how to work with them. So this is a kind of introductory workshop, just really opening the door on this amazing, fascinating field. And I'm doing that on the 11th of September in Stroud, face-to-face. And if people are interested in that, there isn't anything on my website at the moment, but it will be in a couple of weeks. So adamfotheringham.com is my website address, and there will be more details to come.
Thanks, Adam. We're looking forward to all that. So we have another question from our virtual audience from Tongi Gra. He's asking, do you have any books or advice that you would recommend that we can apply in a period of crisis, like the one we have with COVID, especially in the regions of the world that fear might be increasing? Is there something that we should read? Anything you want to recommend?
Oh, blimey. I mean, we are, yeah. Okay, so all I can do is say what has really supported me at this time. So the teaching of Eckhart Tolle, who is an internationally renowned spiritual teacher, that's been incredibly supporting to me. And basically what the essence of his teaching is that the present moment is the only moment in which we're alive. And it's the only moment we need to pay attention to in order to find some peace. And I would really recommend, if you haven't heard of him, I'd really recommend his teachings. And then in terms of what's happening with the climate change, environmental change, there's a writer called Joanna Macy, who I really have turned to a lot, because she teaches a very radical, she offers a very radical teaching around how we can face the impending, well, the current challenges and the impending disasters, ecological disasters of climate change, in a way that is really helpful, practical, and keeps us connected to ourselves, doesn't send us off into terrible fear and hopelessness. So Joanna Macy and Eckhart Tolle, I would recommend their writings.
So those are two authors that you highly recommend, Adam. So there's this, well, World Humanitarian Drive has an Honoring the Honorable initiative of WHD. It's to identify and recognize individuals and organizations for their contributions to this world by honoring and awarding them. So how important is Honoring the Honorable initiative in these times?
I think it's really important, Viva. You know, we are living in extraordinary times, and I mean, it's easy to think of this as being sometimes to catastrophize a bit and to think of it all in very negative terms. But what's happening in the world is that extraordinary innovation is taking place in the way that we think, the way that we see things, and the way the technologies that we can apply to solve some of the problems. In all of those areas, there's extraordinary development and innovation. And I think it's important to really acknowledge those organizations, individuals, movements that are really working hard to take us out and beyond the predicaments that we're in at the moment. So I think something like this, yeah, it's important to acknowledge.
So Adam, we have virtual audience right now from different parts of the world, from the Philippines, Malaysia, UK, and other parts of the world. So many of our viewers have not been to the UK yet. So this would be a great opportunity for them to know more about the UK. What can you tell others about your country?
Well, it's very, for an island of its size, it's not a huge, it's about 800 miles long from one end to the other, the mainland of the UK. But given that that's not a great distance, there is a huge diversity in terms of the landscape and the people, actually. So one of the things that I love about the UK is there's so many different accents, regional accents. I'm heading off next week to go to Wales with my partner for a holiday. And, you know, it's 180 miles. Is it? I think it might be about 180 miles from here to where we're going in West Wales. And it's completely different. So we're going to be, it feels like a foreign country. Well, it is a foreign country, it's Wales. But I love that diversity. And there's a great deal of beauty in the landscape in the UK. Some of it very wild, some of it very soft. And I think the British people, on the whole, I think the British people are, you know, we have our faults, you know, like everybody else, but I think we're quite tolerant and of difference, and we're quite welcoming and willing to live side by side with each other, you know. And I like that about the UK, that it's a very tolerant, well, it's a relatively tolerant society compared to some other places in the world. Yeah.
That's great to know about the UK. And so you love telling stories. What is the importance of storytelling in these times, Adam?
Well, storytelling, Viva, is how we get to really know each other. You know, you tell me your story. I mean, I've shared some of my story today, and I mean, I'm hoping that, you know, from what I've said, from what I've shared about myself through story, like that story about being on stage when I was 15, people get to know me a little bit. And I feel that this is how we connect our experiences. So I did a project in Gloucester a few years ago, multicultural. There's 82 languages spoken in Gloucester. I mean, it's hugely multicultural. And we did a project where we interviewed people from all the different cultures, nationalities, backgrounds, and we shared all of their stories. And we made a piece of theatre and then performed it in the community. And it was a way of really helping people to get to know each other, helping people to get to know their neighbors, people from different backgrounds, different cultures. Because when you know somebody's story, it's very hard for them to then be a stranger and become the enemy. So it helps us to connect.
That's great, with stories helping us to connect. So I'm just going to read a comment from our virtual audience, Win. She's saying, "Thank you, Mr. Adam Fotheringham, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us." So, Adam, here's the final question that we always ask our guests. What is your inspiring message to the world?
It's very simple, really, and it's very simple. It's that everybody, every single individual alive today, um, has the right to be seen and heard. And I really believe that, and I really would love to make that true. And that is, in a way, what my work is about. It's about really empowering people to discover their right to be seen and heard, even when they don't feel, even when that right has been taken away from them. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Adam Fotheringham, for honoring us with your presence, sharing your words of wisdom, expertise, and inspiring the world with your story. In honor of international recognition for your virtue in persistently serving and inspiring humanity with your noble deeds, World Humanitarian Drive would like to award you, Mr. Adam Fotheringham, with Inspiring Humanitarian Award. We're just going to email it to you, Adam. So
Thank you.
congratulations. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Viva. That's a lovely surprise, and I really am very touched. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam, and congratulations. Adam Fotheringham, actor, director, personal and leadership coach, facilitator of Be Seen and Be Heard. We would like to share a quotation by our featured guest, Adam Fotheringham. As human beings, we are storytelling creatures. We tell ourselves stories without realizing it is what we are doing that manifests in our lives in so many ways. Just like fish swimming in the ocean without realizing they're surrounded by water, we're swimming in our ocean of life, surrounded by stories. So let's make our stories matter. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion with Adam Fotheringham, that it motivated you to improve your communication skills, to reflect and explore your story. It's never too late to rewrite your story and change your life for the better. Here on Inspiring Millions Show, we present you with brilliant people from around the world, so feel free to connect with them on social media. And together, let's make a difference in the world. If today's discussion inspired you, please like it, share it, send us a comment. Do share with us your takeaways from today. Follow us on our social media accounts. Click subscribe on our YouTube channel, WHD Media. Visit our WHD website, www.whd.org.uk for more inspiring events. Stay safe and healthy. These are challenging times for everyone. Please remember to be kind to yourself and others. To our frontliners, we salute you. We thank you for your hard work, sacrifices, and dedication to humanity. Virtual hug to you all. To all those celebrating their birthdays and special milestones this week, happy celebrations. Have a wonderful weekend. On behalf of WHD team, especially those working behind the scenes, WHD Chairman Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed, WHD Director of Global Operations, Ms. Sarah Wilson, WHD's 12 Honorable Secretary Generals, we thank you, our virtual audience from around the world, for joining us and supporting our show. This has been World Humanitarian Drive's Inspiring Millions Show. I'm Viva Andrada O'Flynn. Please join us again next Friday. We will have a discussion with Luke Burrows, CEO of Grow Together, mindset coach and podcast host in the UK, as we inspire the world here on Inspiring Millions Show.